Just over 2 weeks from the time that I'm recording this video, the SPIEL Game Convention will open in Essen, Germany. In the before times, pre-COVID, SPIEL was one of the largest tabletop gaming events in the world, recording attendance figures over 200,000. The press releases announcing this figure did not specify whether it was unique attendees or turnstile attendance over the 4 days of the fair, but in either case, it's definitely in competition for the largest show out there. Gen Con might be comparable. In the years 2018 and 19, Gen Con sold out its 70,000 ticket maximum. So maybe on par if you're looking at pure attendance over the 4 days of each of those shows. But in terms of exhibition space, SPIEL dwarfs Gen Con. Gen Con has a lot of space devoted to play, where groups can hold tournaments and other sorts of events. You have lots of places to try out games. In the evening, you can just play whatever you want. But SPIEL is devoted pretty much to exhibitors, and that's it. The press information coming out for SPIEL 22 mentions that there are more than 950 publishers that will be at the event from 56 nations with 1,800 titles. That's a lot of games. I don't know whether that number is quite accurate. Of course, it's really hard to determine how many titles are actually going to be there. I don't know who's going to go around to every booth and count all of that. That 1,800 title figure comes from information submitted to the convention organizers. Now, this information is submitted in the middle of the year when the convention reaches out to publishers and starts booking space with them. And things change from the middle of the year to when the convention actually opens. At Board Game Geek, I've been overseeing the creation of a SPIEL preview since 2011. I did it previously as well when I was running BoardGameNews.com. I've been doing this for quite a while. And this year, I've got an assistant helping me. Stephen Cordell is doing a fantastic job fielding publisher surveys and adding information to the preview. And I'm reaching out to publishers and trying to contact people who are not on my mailing list or just haven't responded, and try to poke people to submit information so that we can be as up to date as possible. SPIEL, of course, knows who's going to have booths, and they get information from those publishers. But as I said, lots of things change. And one example of that is that publishers often don't have a booth on their own, but they will contract with a publisher that does have a booth to sell their games there. So they're not officially listed in the guide, but their games will be available at the show. Or a game that was initially announced or planned for in the middle of the year, well, it falls through and it's not going to be there. Clicker Spiele, for example, small publisher, has some interesting induction games that come out, usually just one title a year, and it's got a title listed in the SPIEL 22 guide from the convention organizer, but I've confirmed with the designer/publisher, nope, nothing new this year. Czech Games Edition had a second expansion listed for Lost Ruins of Arnak, which of course people would love to see that, but nope, it will not be demoed at the show. It will not be out until 2023 at the earliest. So the BGG SPIEL 22 preview, I would argue, is the most accurate guide, the most complete and comprehensive guide for what will be available at SPIEL. Except for those publishers who have not responded to the survey. I've been reaching out to as many people as possible, but not everyone responds. So it's frustrating. I would want to put everything in that list to make it as filled as possible. I don't want surprises. I want surprises when I go to the show, but I also don't want surprises because I want to put out as much information as possible so that if you are going to the show, or if you're just a person who plays games, you have an idea of what's going to be there, so you can discover things. That's the whole purpose of doing this list in the first place. Now, the BGG SPIEL 22 preview has topped 1,000 titles so far. Again, we've got 2 weeks left. I suspect we'll possibly reach about 1,200, especially if Asmodee responds. Asmodee Germany has not responded. It's kind of the biggest one that would probably have a lot more titles on that list if they did, but they haven't yet. Now, one great feature about BGG Spiel 22 preview, which let me include the link a few times here as well as in the description. One of the great features of that preview setup is that you can organize the titles in many different ways. You can organize them by publisher, so you see all the booth information. You can just go by title. You can sort them by thumbs. What games are people most interested in seeing? You can sort it by recently added. So you can, if you're familiar with the list, you can sort by recently added and just see what's been added since you last looked. There's all sorts of different ways to sort the list. You can also use filters to remove information or look for particular things. If you just want tile placement games, you can search just for that. So there's lots of different ways to use the preview tool to find games that might interest you, whether by publisher or designer or mechanism or what have you. One other great feature is that you can tag each game, whether it's must-have or you're interested in it or you're not sure or you're uninterested. Okay. You can press the little button for every listing in the preview, and then you can use filters to sort out after using all of those tags so that you can have a list purely of what you have not prioritized yet. So if you've already labeled most things, you can just see what's left that you haven't labeled so far. If you label things not interested, you can then use the filters and look at only the things that are everything else. Must have interested, unprioritized, undecided, and all the things that you're not interested on will not be on the list anymore. You can also create a specific link that shows what you have tagged as must have and interested. And then you could share that on social media and just let people know what excites you. Give people a sense of what your taste is. And I did that, made up my list of must have and interested. And it's kind of ridiculous because we have more than 1,000 titles on the list, and I had 38 things that I came up as must-have or interested. That doesn't even include games that I have already received as someone who gets review copies, such as Challengers here, which I posted a preview of on BGG, or Sabika, which I still hope to play prior to the show, or what else do we have here? Wordcraft, which again I hope to try Evergreen. There's so many things and not quite enough time. There's No Mercy by Knizia. There's San Francisco by Knizia. I'm hitting on my face here. Those are games that I have already been able to try and been able to talk about. The Itten titles here from Japanese publisher Itten. There's so many things that I still hope to try, but again, there's 2 weeks before the show opens. What's kind of interesting is you can print out that list or just look at it online and you get a real sense of like what your tastes are. So I'm looking at things on the list and it's kind of funny just seeing what strikes my eye over and over again. It's card games, for example, a Wimboe and District Noir, and Fika and Violet and the Grumpy Nissa. 4 titles that are 2-player only card games, 2 or 3 of which involve trick-taking. It's weird just seeing your taste distilled down to these particular choices. And then I have a whole bunch of other card games as well, like Sea Salt and Paper, which I previewed as well. Triggs from NSV. I don't think you can see all my NSV collection up here. Like The Mine and the Game, Quicks, some of my favorite games out there. So every NSV title, I'm always looking for that. Or World Exchangers and World Splitters, 2 titles from Emperor S4, which did Namakoji, which is just such a good 2-player game. Titles like, Kuzuka, sorry. I don't know if I like that title. Kuzuka. Disney Villains, the card game. and The Lost Code. 3 titles by Leo Colavini, who's one of my favorite designers. So, of course, you're looking for a favorite designer, and you're trying to pull things out there. So, Disney Villains, the card game, is a new version of Huol Doch, which was a little card game released previously. Very simple thing. The Lost Code is a new version of an older game of his called Think Straight, which is not about sexual preferences, but instead about guessing numbers. So you got numbers in a row, making straights. Kuzuka is a cooperative game where you're trying to move to the end of a line by guessing collectively what people have. Sort of similar to Liar's Dice or Bluff, except it's cooperative. We're not trying to fool everyone. We're trying to figure out together what we all have. So along those lines, cooperative games were really coming through on my list, especially cooperative party games. And I noticed that partially just my taste falling at a certain level where I've really been digging Just One and So Clover. And I'm like, yes, I want more of that, especially because we host events at our house. We have people over who are new, haven't played a lot of things. And so you're looking for new games that work great with minimal rules that you can get in immediately and just have a great experience. Introduce people to modern games. So along those lines, cooperative party games. There's 3, 13 words, fun facts, also from Repos, which did So Clover and Just One, and Not That Movie. So all of them cooperative play, trying to guess the right thing and mind meld with the other people you're playing with. 2 other party games, One Word, more of a storytelling game of sorts, deduction storytelling, where you're rolling dice. You have different colors. You're going to have a card that shows a color, and then it's got 2 hidden colors on the other side. So you're going to look at the 3 dice that match your 3 colors and give a word, one word, which is the name of the game, to try to get people to guess what your hidden colors are. Very basic concept, and yet it seems like it should scale across all age ranges. We had an 8-year-old and 9-year-old, 10-year-old over with a couple the other day, right? I want to have the right things that's going to work for them. Secret Identity, another one, falls in that line. There's 4 games that are some variation of the same idea. The Great Split, Split, Split It, and Splitto. Seems really odd, but all of them involve taking cards and dividing them up into groups in some manner. Why 4 games at once with that name? I don't know, but I love card games in general, and so I'm curious to see the details of all of them. The Great Split is from Horrible Guild. I got a preview of that at Gen Con. It's a neat little concept where you're trying to collect things. You get a set of cards, you divide them into 2 packets, and you put a little divider card between them, and you fold it up in a wallet and hand that to the person on your left. And then you're going to get something from the player on your right. You keep one of the 2 packets of cards, give the other one back, and then you get something back from the player to your left. So you're making this division of what you hope to get back and making a choice from the other packet of trying to combine with what you think is coming. You know you're getting one of those 2 collections of cards. So what are you going to pair with it? And then build up your sets and try to do all this stuff. But a big part of it, of course, is trying to outthink other people, give different setups for the cards so that you end up best. All the games that I find myself playing on this list are, again, cooperative party games, card games, and games from older designers or designers who design with an old spirit, as in late 1990s or early 2000s, where everyone played in this common space. It's an old style. So got, Kramer and Kiesling game, Die Wandelnden Türme, where you've got these towers that move around a board and they come apart. So parts of the tower move and your figures will get trapped inside the tower and possibly be carried around the board without you being able to control where they go. And you're trying to get your figures to the end. So everyone's playing together in that same surface to try to get that there. Freedom and Frieza sort of has a similar feel. I don't know how it feels similar. It felt similar when I was writing up Fancy Feathers, little card game. You got a row of cards, and you can move as far as you want along that row to try to get a card. But everything you pass over, well, you might collect those cards if someone else doesn't take them. So you're trying to get the right collection of cards without things necessarily being entirely under your control. So, I don't know, 38 titles. It's kind of ridiculous because, of course, it's only 52 weeks in the year. Am I really going to learn all of these? I'm probably not going to end up with these. But it's more about having some idea of what you want, so you don't go in completely blind. And even if you're not going to spiel, you can still use the tool and have must-have and interested and just filter things out so you get a better sense of what you might want to look for in the future. Or ask someone else to get, so you play their copy. Or you look for it at a convention like BGG-Con, where we'll have a lot of games from Spiel and you can borrow them. It's a library of games that you can borrow, so you can try things without having to buy them. So all of this here, and this doesn't even account for lots of other stuff that I'm interested in. So, for example, I'm a huge fan of Korean publisher Plate. Just received some samples here. This Tasso Banana. It's a 2-player balancing placement game. I mean, I played Tasso before by Philippe Prou. Very simple concept, beautifully done, where it's just trying to outthink the other person and set up situations and all that. Again, I keep going back to the same thing where it's all just trying to set up traps for the other player. They can't do the right thing. They have to make a move that's going to be better for you. All that sort of free-flowing stuff. So Plate, I mentioned them. There's also Korea board games. I didn't mention they have a new version of Princess of Florence, which has got a new look. Seems kind of neat for people who are not familiar with that game. There's also another Korean publisher, Dice Tree Games, which has new versions of Reiner Knizia's Ra, if you haven't got that game, on the market, at least at Spiel and in Korea, and a new version of Wolfgang Reitesser's Avi Caesar, which I think is my favorite racing game of all time. It's all about blocking people, trying to dominate the chokeholds and push people into the outer tracks so that they have to move a greater distance as they're going around the track. Everyone has the same deck of cards, comes up in a random order. You've only got 3 cards in hand. You play one of them and move. That's it. But you have total in the deck just enough movement points to get you 3 times around the track and a little bit more. So if you can push someone into the outer lane over and over again, they won't even have enough movement to finish. Or if you get into a choke point and they're blocked and can't move, and then you escape out of there and hopefully land on another choke point, you can keep people from using their good cards to get ahead and set things up well for yourself. Such a beautiful game. So there's the Korean Pavilion. There's also a Vietnamese publisher showing up. First time I know about that, Board Game VN. And I've reached out to them, tried to get information. They're listed in the Spiel guide, but I have not heard from them. So we'll go and see what's there. I have no idea what to expect. And that's sort of the magic of Spiel, where you go there and there's just so many games. As much as you prepare and have lists, you can go there and be surprised. Every year I go, Okay, not in 2020 because it was digital only. Not in 2021 because still worried about COVID. Every other year I go, and I love going to the booth of Japanese publisher Bucon Adventure Service because they have an unexpected design that makes me think about games in a very different way. There's just something unexpected there, and it's wonderful. And I couldn't get it outside of going to Japan myself. All these publishers have come to this one place to show off all these games. And you just wish it was longer than 4 days. Although, of course, by the end of the fourth day, you're ready to die. So it's kind of a mixed feeling there. Yeah. So there you go. Some teasers of what I'm looking forward to. I've been putting up images so you get an idea of what these games look like. I'll include a link to my choices in case you're curious in the description for this video. And you could make one yourself and then share on social media and give people other taste of what you're looking at. It's kind of cool to see someone's, I don't want to say their personality, but just like what excites them in a very compact manner, similar to people sharing favorite movie lists, favorite game lists, all that type of stuff. But this is more expectations because we haven't played the games yet. In general, they're not out. They're not available. So it's just what's grabbing your eye and what sounds good, what excites you, what are you imagining you'll see. And if the game doesn't live up to it, well, maybe you should make your own game and then make it the thing that you want to see and then send me information to make sure it's on the Spiel preview for whatever that year is. So feel free to go on the Spiel 2022 preview and make your own suggestion list and then share it in the comments. So that way I'll get to see what you're looking forward to. That'd be neat just to share. Do we have any overlap with what we're looking for in taste? It's really weird because I notice as I go through the list, again, card games, party games, games from old designers, Kramer, Colavini, Knizia, Avi Caesar, who's not an old designer, but has that older sensibility. Seven Seas and Eolos from Spieldas. His designs work really well for me. Simple design, simple rule sets, highly interactive. That's what I want to see. A couple two-player abstract strategy games, Pathogen and Yoxi. I've already pre-ordered Pathogen, so Yoxi is from Cosmo Ludo, which I reviewed Penteri. It's very cool stuff out there. I don't even have on this list as well publisher Clemens Gerhardt's, who does fantastic Allwood games, and I posted a few reviews of their games in the past, including the recent stone flicking game, whose name escapes me because I'm old. I'll post it on the screen. They do fantastic Allwood games, and they do amazing productions, very low numbers of copies made because they're pretty expensive, but they're better quality. They're going to hold up forever. Of course, most of these games are going to hold up forever, unless we have a fire in the house. They hold up forever, and they're beautiful. Great coffee table type games. And now I'm just rambling. It's weird because, of course, I'm highly excited to go to Spiel, to see everything there. I'm nervous because I have only 2 weeks before going. So I have a lot to do in preparation, trying to keep the list updated, do more videos talking about games coming out. Lots of things going on. So in any case, share your list, either in the comments, on social media, use the tool. Stephen and I do a lot of work to put this preview together, and I hope that you can use it just for your interest. If you're a game designer yourself, you can see what else is coming out in that same style of game and See if there's anything similar, or find the publishers who are releasing things that you might want to pitch in the future. There's so many different ways to use this list. So I hope you'll give it a go. Make my efforts worth something. You put it to use. Thank you so much. And maybe I'll see you in Essen. I'll be wearing my BGG jersey. Board Game Geek will not have a booth. We will not be live streaming. We're trying to play things simple in 2022. Didn't take a booth at any of the shows, just in case people got sick. We wouldn't do interviews wearing masks, or it'd be a little harder to hear. Thought we'd keep it simple. So there'll be a number of us at the show, and maybe you'll see us walking around and say hi. Show us what you got. Let me know if there's something that I'm missing that I should really check out. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.